we present the best of South African radio drama for your listening pleasure in Radio Theatre. And now, Act 1 of this week's story.
My father was the first in our family to become an airman. The first to break the tradition of being noble and lazy landowners. He joined the Royal Flying Corps just before the First World War, and during that war became a renowned fighter ace. That was the time of the old biplane and gallantry among the airmen of both sides. Heroes in their own time, they shared a special bond. A bond possibly experienced only by the ancient gods of Greece. Alone in the clouds, the power of life-giver or life-taker. That's how I saw my father. But even the gods must die. He was shot down over France and went out in a blaze of glory. I was 7 years old then, but his medals and battle ribbons had burned their calling on my pride. I wanted to be like him. So I joined the RAF in 1927 and eventually became the leader of a squadron of Lancaster bombers. 1939, the outbreak of the Second World War, and I saw the honor and the glory well within my reach.
Cloudstorm 1 to control. Cloudstorm 1 to control. Request permission for takeoff.
Control to Cloudstorm 1. Free for takeoff. I repeat, you are free for takeoff.
Roger, Control. We'll proceed with takeoff and effecting radio silence until mission return.
Roger, Cloudstorm 1. All success and happy hunting. Over and out.
Well, Arthur, we're on our own.
As always, old chap. As always.
Then, let's be off, shall we?
We present A Gentleman's Sport by Nicholas Radcliffe, starring Glenn Day and Mark Legwood.
I hope the weather holds out. Do you want me to take over for a while?
No, I'm enjoying it. I'll let you take us home after we've dropped the load.
What do we hit tonight?
A little industrial town called Kassel.
Weren't you at the briefing?
Yes, but I fell asleep. It gets a bit boring after a while.
Who? The old man?
Yes. Oh, he's a decent sort, but he does go on a bit.
He's the best CEO we've ever had. You'd best be sure that he doesn't find you out.
Find me out? What do you mean, Spencer?
You don't exactly pay much attention at the briefings, do you, Arthur? A person would think that you're not very much interested in this war.
I'm not. Who the hell in his right mind is?
I am.
Oh, sorry, I forgot. Anyway, the old man doesn't even notice me. As long as I'm flying as your co-pilot, he doesn't worry about me as much. Thinks the world of you, you know.
No, I don't know.
Of course you do. He's got a terribly soft spot for you. Well, maybe it's because he served with your father in the First War.
That's got nothing to do with it.
I'm sorry, Spencer. I didn't mean to upset you by mentioning your father in such a casual sense. He was a great pilot.
He was the greatest pilot.
Yes, yes. You know, Spencer, I'm getting a little worried about you.
Why?
Well, you seem so impressed with your father's achievements as a fighter pilot in the First War that you're starting to forsake everything else while trying to follow in his footsteps.
I don't know what you mean.
Oh, come on, Spencer. You've got more than most other men.
I haven't got everything.
You've got a beautiful wife.
I haven't got everything.
Just given birth to your son. You come from a wealthy family.
Are you listening to me? I said that I haven't got everything.
I heard what you said, old boy. But who has?
My father.
What?
I said that my father had everything.
Well, he had a lot, I'll grant.
He had everything.
What does that mean, he had everything? What did he have that you don't? He also had a wife, a baby, which was you, and still is, judging by how little you've grown up.
He had the medal, Arthur.
The VC. And all the honor and glory that comes with it.
Oh, I don't believe what I'm hearing. You're telling me that you don't have as much as he had just because of a VC?
I'm telling you that I don't have anything until I have the VC.
Oh, I really don't believe what I'm hearing.
It's no joke, Arthur.
You're telling me it's no joke. And even if it were, I wouldn't be laughing.
Ever since I was a young boy and I saw my father receive his VC, I knew that I had to be decorated too someday.
But why? Your father was a pilot, and so you became one. I can understand that. But just because he won a VC, now you have... That I don't understand.
I didn't think that you would.
Try me. Explain the reason to me so that I can understand.
You really want to know?
I'm your friend, Spencer. Yes, I do.
Well, it started when my father came home on leave one day. I ran out to meet him.
Oh, Mummy, come quickly. It's Daddy. Daddy's home.
How's my young man, then, huh? Been busy while I've been away?
Oh, yes, Daddy. I've got 7 new stamps for my collection.
Stamps? That's very nice. Now, why don't you go and play outside for a while, huh? I want to talk to Mummy.
All right. But only if I can wear your cap.
Here you are. Off you go now.
Oh, darling. Oh, I'm glad you're home. Oh, we've missed you.
Well, it's nice to be home.
Is it?
Well, of course it is. Why shouldn't it be?
Oh, it's nothing really.
It must be something, else you wouldn't have asked. Come on. Out with it.
Well, it's just that whenever you come home on leave, you usually can't wait to get back to your airplanes and the war.
Nonsense. I came home to see my family. I missed you too, you know.
It's wonderful to have you home, my darling.
Now, tell me about these stamps that Spencer's been collecting.
Well, it's just a hobby to pass the time when you're not here.
He's been collecting them for months now.
Yes? What of it?
Well, it's not exactly the kind of hobby for a young man, no, is it?
He's not a young man. He's a young boy.
He's my son.
Oh, I see. He should be collecting airplanes, should he? His father's a fighter pilot, and his son should be one too when he grows up, right?
Not exactly. It's just that
It's just that you do expect him to become just like you. Admit it.
Oh, right, yes. He's my son, and yes, I do expect him to have a man's profession when he grows up.
He's my son as well.
I was standing near the door where I couldn't be seen and heard everything. I cried for nights long after that. I thought that my father didn't love me because I collected stamps. I decided to become like him so that he would love me again.
That's ridiculous, Spencer.
I made a fire in the garden, and one by one I threw my stamps into the flames. As they burned, I made a vow to become a great fighter pilot. And that night, I dreamed of burning stamps. Thousands of burning stamps flying all over the sky. When my father returned home on leave 3 months later, I had a new hobby. My room was filled with model aeroplanes. My father paid a lot more attention to me. He even helped me to plan the building of a new one. And while we were busy, he said,
Now, isn't it better to be a pilot than to collect stamps, Spencer?
Yes, it is, Daddy. I want to be just like you when I get big.
That's my boy. After all, flying is a gentleman's sport. And you're a young gentleman, aren't you, Spencer?
Yes, Daddy.
He left after the weekend, full of pride for me as his son. I was happy. That night, I had the same dream of the burning stamps. Only this time, the stamps all joined together and became a burning airplane. The next day, my mother received the news of my father's death. He'd been shot down over France. She tried to hide it from me for a while, but I already knew. I didn't cry for him.
but rather was filled with pride. What started as a forced interest became a real obsession. I knew what I wanted to become, and I knew what I had to achieve. Without it, I would have nothing.
I'm sorry, Spencer.
Don't be sorry, Arthur. It's what I wanted, and my father wanted.
I never understood before. And although I understand now, I'm not sure that I can agree with the way you plan on achieving your glory.
What do you mean?
You're endangering your crew's lives, Spencer, with this death wish.
It's not a death wish.
Well, what would you call it then? Flying in at low levels to drop the bombs?
Necessary.
You always try to push it. Always go deeper than any other pilot into enemy territory to get information.
I do my job.
You do more than is asked, Spencer, old boy. What other plane has an X-47 camera attached permanently for aerial photography?
I don't care about any other plane.
You should. They're your boys, and you are their squadron leader.
No, I do care. You're confusing me.
I hope so. We've been lucky so far, but I think that your obsession is going to land us in trouble one day. We should be coming up to the target area soon. Shall I order the crew to stand by?
No. We'll drop our particular load on the way back.
On the way back from where?
We're going further inland to do a little aerial photography.
But those aren't our
Those
orders.
are my orders.
Spencer, I don't think that you...
think, Arthur. I'll do all the thinking. You may be my friend, but I'm still the squadron leader. And you're still only my co-pilot, remember?
Yes, Air Vice Marshal.
Some flak. Check the crew.
The navigator's dead. The rest are all right.
Your arm's bleeding. Are you hit?
Just a flesh wound, I think.
Are you sure that you're all right?
Yes, damn it, Spencer! Just get the rest of us back home safely, will you?
Come in.
You wanted to see me, Wing Commander?
Squadron Leader Spencer, yes. Sit down.
Thank you, sir.
Now then, I want to speak to you about a very delicate subject, but, well, it must be discussed.
Well, I can't imagine what it could be, sir.
You can't? You know what the men are saying about you, don't you, Spencer?
No, sir. What's that?
Well, they're saying that you're a jinx, a journer. They're scared to fly with you.
Really, sir? Why's that?
Well, why don't you tell me?
I don't know, sir.
It's this bloody obsession of yours. Every time you return from a mission, you've got a plane load full of casualties.
Yet I still return, sir.
And one of those who don't? You've lost 2 planes shot down. Not to mention Jenkins, your navigator, dead.
He was a good man.
Yes, he was. And so are you, Spencer. You're the best squadron leader I've got. But damn reckless. You deliberately disobeyed orders on this last mission.
If you'll forgive me, sir, I didn't disobey any orders. We bombed the target as ordered.
But you didn't have any orders to proceed further inland to take any aerial photographs, did you?
No, sir. As a squadron leader, I exercised the right to use my discretion. Those photographs are an important piece of information.
Well, I won't deny that, but the casualties could have been minimal if you hadn't flown on through to get that information.
My squadron's casualty figures are no higher than any other squadron, sir.
Maybe. But if you weren't so determined to succeed all the time, your figures would be much lower. I know what you're after, Spencer. I knew your father well. He was a very brave man. Brave, not a reckless one. He didn't go looking for recognition or glory. He did his job as best he could, and he was awarded the Victoria Cross because he did it so well.
I also do my job as best I can, sir.
Yes, but you can't risk everything and go looking for a medal. It must come to you. You'll get your chance, Spencer.
I don't have anything to risk, sir.
Yeah? What about your wife, your young son? They need you.
I still don't have anything to risk until I have the medal.
Sing, boom, tarara. Navigate the roll of barrel, for the gang's all here. It's a long way to Tipperary.
Hey,
It's a long
Spencer.
way.
Who? Captain Jinks himself.
I'll bet 10 quid that the next navigator who flies with Spencer only lasts 1 week. Any takers?
No, thanks. I don't want to lose.
Have you heard about this new game that's being played?
No. Tell us.
Well, it's called Spencer's Roulette. We all draw straws, and the loser gets to become Spencer's new navigator.
All right, you lot.
You can't conduct yourself properly, you can get out. Here you are, Spencer. Double scotch.
Aren't you supposed to be in the hospital?
You old chap. Can't stand the place. Oh, they gave me a couple of stitches and made me promise to take things easy for a while. How are you?
Arthur, I'm sorry.
Sorry about what?
Getting you shot up. Losing Jenkins.
Oh, it's part of your life, old chap. It's part of your war. I'm starting to accept it.
My wife's leaving me, Arthur.
What? Why? You two love each other. You've just had a baby.
That's the reason. She says that she'd rather tell my son that I went away than to tell him that his dad died pursuing a childish dream.
I'm sorry. Well, she's right, you know.
I know she's right.
What are you going to do?
What can I do?
Well, you can't let her go.
It's not my choice. I owe her so much. I haven't given her anything. You heard those boys earlier. They're right, you know. I am jinxed.
You're not jinxed. It's your search for honor and glory that is.
I owe you all something. And I've got to find a way to make it up to all of you.
Spencer's a jinx. Spencer's a jinx.
I'll bet 10 quid that the next navigator only lasts 1 week. Any takers?
No thanks. I don't want to lose.
Have you heard about the new game that's being played?
No.
Tell us. It's called Spencer's Roulette. We all draw straws and the loser gets to become Spencer's own navigator.
Spencer, wake up. Are you all right?
Yes, I'm all right. I was dreaming, Arthur.
A nightmare by the sounds of it.
Yes. A nightmare.
What was it about?
Pilots. Dead pilots. Some of the faces, I remember that the others were just skeletons. Jenkins was there, and they were laughing at me. They were all burning, flames, and they were laughing at me.
All right, well, you're all right now.
What did you want, Arthur?
Control just received a Mayday signal.
What?
It came from Tubby Johnson and his crew.
Oh, some of the boys in our squadron. What happened?
They were on a special mission over the French coastline and got shot out of the sky. They went on the drink.
What?
Somewhere in the middle of the channel.
Oh, no. Who's leading the rescue search?
There is no rescue search, Spencer.
What? What do you mean there's no rescue search?
The chances of them still being alive are very small, and the weather makes it impossible.
We must still try.
Take a look at the weather, Spencer. The fog. It's like pea soup out there. It'll be almost impossible.
Almost is not definitely. There's still a chance.
Where are you going?
To find my boys.
I did try to stop him, Wing Commander.
Is he mad? Must be mad, absolutely mad. Nobody can fly in this weather, not even Spencer.
After I told him, he headed straight for the coastal recce base, ordered the mechanic to refuel a Catalina, and flew off.
Was he alone?
Yes.
Only an idiot would try to take up a Catalina single-handed. You should have stopped him, Arthur.
I tried, sir, but he is my senior officer. I couldn't do very much.
Well, even if Johnson and his crew are still alive, how does Spencer expect to rescue them?
Well, he's flown cats before. Obviously, he plans to land on the sea.
That's impossible. The sea's far too rough. The weather report indicated a storm brewing. He'd be like a cork bobbing on the ocean.
Yes, the best we can do is just hope and pray for the best.
I knew his search for that damn Victoria Cross would kill him one day.
You know, sir, I don't believe that he's even thinking about it now. His main concern at this moment is for his men.
They weren't kidding about the weather. I'm flying blind in this fog. I'll have to take that chance and fly lower. I can't see anything from up here. Over the channel for 14 minutes and still no sign of them.
Spencer! Go back, my son.
Dad, is that you?
You must go back, my boy.
I can't, Dad. I must find them.
It's too dangerous. You must go back. There will be another day for you to win the medal. Go back now.
The medal? I didn't come here to find the medal. I came here to find my men.
The medal, Spencer. The medal is all that matters.
No, it's not.
Oh, let the boy collect stamps if he wants to. It's only a hobby to pass the time when you're away.
It's not exactly the kind of hobby for a young man now, is it?
He's not a young man. He's a young boy.
He's my son.
No, I won't listen. Do you hear me? I won't listen. A flare. That's a red flare. They're down there, and they're alive. I must land. I must get lower and land as close as possible. Right, boys! Here I come!
Isn't it better to be a pilot than a stamp collector, Spencer?
Yes, it is, Daddy. I want to be just like you when I get big.
That's my boy. After all, flying is a gentleman's sport. And you're a young gentleman, aren't you, Spencer?
He's my son as well.
The medal, Spencer. There'll be another day for the medal.
I don't want the medal. I want my men back. Do you hear? And this time, I will get them back. I'll get them back home safely. The life craft. I can see the rubber life craft. Must land now. Too long on the sea. The swell will pound this plane into matchsticks. Must get the side door open.
I thought that I would be so happy to see you, sir.
Close the door. You'll find blankets and scotch in the back. It'll warm you. Now, hold on. We are going home.
You deserve a medal for this, sir.
Wing Commander, they're back. Spencer's back.
Back? Back? Did he get the crew?
Yes, they're all back safely.
Oh, he did it. He did it. The man's a marvel. Absolute marvel. Look, firstly, I want the crew taken into hospital, and then I want you to...
That won't be necessary, sir.
Oh? Why not?
Well, after the plane landed, they all tumbled out at the back, merry as jesters, all singing, for he's a jolly good fellow.
That's marvellous. Then tell Spencer that I want to see him. Now.
I wonder if that could possibly wait until the morning, sir.
Wait? What do you mean, wait? What for? I want to congratulate him right now.
Well, the truth is that he's gone home to his wife and baby, sir.
Oh, damn cheek. Yes, of course, he's... but he's still in the RAF, you know.
I know, sir.
I mean, we can't have the pilots going home whenever they get the urge to, am I right?
Quite right, sir.
Yes, of course. What would become of the Air Force if everyone decided to do that, I ask you, huh?
Yes, sir.
When will he be back, do you think?
Tomorrow, I think, sir.
Oh, well, yes, I suppose that's fair enough. But I want to see him first thing in the morning. You hear me, Arthur?
Yes, sir. I'll tell him.
Oh, and Arthur, when you see him, tell him from me, a damn fine piece of work.
Yes, sir.
And also tell him that he's done enough. Huh? Enough. He can now forget the dangerous dream of a blasted VC hanging from his chest.
I don't have to tell him, sir. I'm sure he realizes that now.
Memories of my childhood.
Now, tell me about these stamps that Spencer's been collecting.
Well, it's just a hobby to pass the time when you're not here.
Well, he's been collecting them for months now.
Yes? What of it?
Well, it's not exactly the kind of hobby for a young man, no, is it?
He's not a young man. He's a young boy.
He's my son.
Oh, I see. He shouldn't be collecting airplanes, should he? His father's a fighter pilot, and his son should be one too when he grows up, right?
Not exactly. It's just that
It's just that you do expect him to become just like you. Admit it.
Oh, right, yes. He's my son, and yes, I do expect him to have a man's profession when he grows up.
He's my son as well.
Memories of my marriage. My wife's leaving me, Arthur.
What? Why? You two love each other. You've just had a baby.
That's the reason. She says that she'd rather tell my son that I went away than to tell him that his dad died pursuing a childish dream.
I'm sorry. Well, she's right, you know.
I know she's right.
What are you going to do?
What can I do?
Well, you can't let her go.
It's not my choice. I owe her so much. I haven't given her anything. You heard those boys earlier. They're right, you know. I am jinxed.
You're not.
Memories of a gentleman's sport.
Pedal as hard as you can! Get to the plane! We're coming! Thank heavens you came! I thought we were done for! Look! It's Spencer! Come on, boys! We haven't got much time!
I never thought that I would be so happy to see you, sir.
Close the door! You'll find blankets and scotch in the back. It'll warm you. Now, hold on. We're going home.
I'll have a medal for this, sir.
On my return that night, I settled a lot of debts. With my wife, my friends, with myself, and with my father. My wife and I have had a long and happy life together. My son is all grown up now. No, he didn't follow in my footsteps and become a fighter pilot. I let him make his own choice, and he became a music student. He graduated with honors and now plays with an international touring orchestra. I think about the early years quite often these days. I have the time, you see. Apart from my stamp collection, there's nothing much to keep me very busy. I remember one thing in particular, and that is the night I landed after the rescue mission. I went home to see my wife and son. I held him in my arms and made all kinds of promises to him, none of which I have broken to this day. That very night, I had another dream. This time, not of burning planes or dead friends, but of my father. I was flying in a cloudless sky, and all of a sudden, I got the feeling that I was being followed. I looked to my right, and there he was, in his old biplane, his wing almost touching mine. He looked over to me, smiling lovingly. He gave me a thumbs-up sign, and then he did a victory roll and was gone. But before he disappeared, I noticed the medal on his chest, shining brightly. In my dream, I looked at the medal on my chest, and it was shining as brightly as his did.
You've just heard A Gentleman's Sport by Nicholas Ratcliffe. Glenn Day as Spencer, Mark Legwood, Arthur, and Ken Taylor, the Wing Commander. Supporting cast: John Dennison, Elizabeth Williams, Roland Stafford, Linda Delport, David Butler, David Thomas, and Michael Blaze. Sound effects: Eckhard Barr. Audio recording: Alan Raby. Directed by Andre Botner.
This week in Radio Theatre, we present A Woman Alone by Ron Evans and produced by Anne Free. As
still got my reservations about it, Katie.
Don't worry, we're on holiday, and that's what counts.
I don't fancy spending it in a crummy little hotel that's likely to fall down any day.
You've let your imagination run wild, Alan. That isn't how Angie described it at all.
She said it was small and run by a spinster lady. It conjures up visions.
Well, I've seen a photograph of the Wellmont Rise Hotel, and it's very nice. Small, and set in a lovely garden close to the sea.
Looked after by a little old lady, and alive with cats.
Oh, she isn't old, Alan. I remember Angie saying the owner was a very smart woman in her early 40s.
And how long is it since Angie stayed there?
Oh, last summer. She went down to Durban on the spur of the moment and couldn't find a reasonably priced place to stay that wasn't already full, so she slept in her car the first night. The next day, she was talking to a woman in a tea room who told her about the Wellmont Rise Hotel. And when Angie got there, she was very pleasantly surprised. It was sort of continental.
All right, we're passing Pinetown now. I'll know the truth very soon.
Ah, yes. Mr. and Mrs. Rockhall, isn't it?
That's right.
Yes, it'll be in 22. If you'll just sign in here, Mr. Rockhall.
Right.
Joseph, get the gentleman's luggage and take it to 22.
Yeah, what is it?
Here are your keys.
Thank you.
And I hope you have a pleasant stay.
Thank you.
If there's anything you need, please let me know.
There. Wasn't I right? It's very nice. A lot better than a bleak holiday flat. Oh, and there's even a small kitchen in here. I tell you, Alan, it's a lot better than I expected.
I agree. It's comfortable.
The bed's nice and firm. And look at the view from the balcony. The beach and the sea. I can't see a thing wrong.
All right. I was wrong. Yes, it is very nice.
Oh, but as for Miss Abbott, she certainly isn't the old dragon of your imagination. She was very smart. Fashionable, actually.
Plenty of money by the look of her.
Angie found her a bit distant. Helpful, but cold. Oh, yes, and very unsociable. She didn't seem like that to me, though. Did she to you, Alan?
Oh, she was polite. That's all I can say for now. Well, what shall we do with ourselves?
What do you think? The beach, of course.
And then?
And then a drive along to Dairy Beach and dinner at a 5-star hotel.
And then?
There's more? Let me see now. How about a movie?
Granted. And then?
Oh, hey, let's not plan too far ahead.
All right. After the movie, we can play it by ear.
Well, come on, let's get unpacked. I can't wait to flaunt myself on the beach. Oh, I'm exhausted.
Well, it is 2 o'clock in the morning.
I haven't been up so late since... well, it must have been on our honeymoon. Oh, what a day.
And there are 12 more to go.
But I think I'll sleep in tomorrow. Wonder what time the maid comes in to clean.
Oh, don't worry about that now.
Alan, did you look in Miss Abbott's window as we passed?
I don't make a habit of staring through people's windows.
I couldn't help it. She was sitting upright in a chair, reading, still fully dressed. She must be something of a late bird.
Maybe she's waiting for her secret lover to arrive.
Well, one never knows.
Seriously, though. Did you look at her eyes when we checked in?
No, I can't say I did.
There was a faint smile on her lips, but those eyes were ice cold. A woman without a speck of emotion. Oh, no. I can't imagine Miss Abbott having a lover.
Well, it must be the coast air. But your imagination is running riot.
Not in this instance, Katie. Our Miss Abbott hates men. That is something I could sense coming from her.
You said a moment ago that she was without emotion. Hatred is an emotion.
Don't quibble. You know what I mean. What emotion there is in her is confined to hatred of the male sex.
Well, perhaps she had a nasty experience in her younger day, like assault or even rape.
Yes, that's possible. Anyway, shall we forget about her and concentrate on celebrating the first night of the holiday?
You betcha. One more drink and we'll go.
That's a deal.
I've been thinking, Alan, let's do something different tomorrow.
Like?
Oh, I'm not sure. Oh, we could drive somewhere. The Wild Coast, perhaps. Do a spot of gambling.
Suits me.
Oh, great. Who was it who phoned you this afternoon?
Mr. Hawksworth.
Oh, dear me. Even when you're on holiday, they can't leave you alone. What did you want?
Oh, just a couple of pointers on a case I was investigating a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, what kind of case?
The commonest, arson. A fellow insured his garage for $1 million, and a month later it went up in smoke.
Ooh, sounds naughty.
It was, and he wasn't very clever about it either. Being an insurance investigator is never dull.
Especially the weird hours you have to work.
Oh, that can't be helped, I'm afraid.
And now you have to help out even while you're on holiday.
It was just a few points, nothing more. The job still has to go on, even while I'm away.
Well, old Hawksworth won't be able to get hold of you tomorrow. Let me see. 6, 7, 8. Oh, dear me. There's only 8 days left. Time's simply flown.
Enjoyed yourself?
Oh, tremendously. Oh, this place is lovely. It's just Miss Abbott who puts me off a bit. Angie was right about her after all. The woman is antisocial. 3 times I've attempted to have a chat with her, and she's just brushed me off.
Oh, I haven't even tried. Come on, let's skip that last drink and stroll back to the hotel.
Alan, see that chap standing there?
What about him?
Oh, nothing really. It's just an odd place to be loitering, especially so late at night.
It's none of our business. Come on.
Oh, I see Miss Abbott's light still on.
Who cares?
Oh, I was just thinking. Miss Abbott.
Is something wrong?
Oh, no. I was just startled to see you standing in the doorway like that.
Just taking a few breaths of night air?
Yes, it is rather pleasant.
Good night, Mrs. Rockwell. Mr. Rockwell.
Good night.
Come on. You can't sleep all day.
What time is it?
It's nearly 9.
Oh, well, there's no hurry, is there? No point in driving down to the Wild Coast too early.
Oh, it's not that. I'm hungry. Unless you'd rather I went and had breakfast alone.
No, wait for me. I'll be as quick as I can. Oh, who can that be?
Well, there's one sure way of finding out.
Good morning. You are Mr. Alan Rockwell?
Yes.
Lieutenant Furry, CID. May I come in, please?
Why, yes, of course.
Thank you, sir. Have you heard about what happened last night?
My wife and I slept rather late. Has there been a robbery or something?
A lot worse than that, I'm afraid. The owner of this hotel, Miss Abbott, was found dead 2 hours ago by one of the cleaners.
Dead? Miss Abbott?
I'm afraid so. Is Mrs. Rockwell in?
She's in the bathroom. I'll call her. Katie, are you decent?
I'm always decent. Who was it at the door?
You'd better come out. It's a police officer, and he wants to see you.
Is something wrong?
Miss Abbott is dead.
Dead? What happened to her?
Good morning, Mrs. Rockwell.
Morning.
I'm Lieutenant Furry of the CID. Tell me, when did you last see Miss Abbott?
Must have been a little after midnight.
12:10 it was. Oh, this is terrible. How did she die?
Well, I can't be certain as yet. Somehow an intruder got in and hit her over the head.
Oh.
When? This morning?
A death occurred about 1 in the morning.
Good heavens, just after we spoke to her, Alan.
Did you know Miss Abbott very well?
Oh, hardly at all. She wasn't very social.
Yes, that's what most of the hotel residents say. Where was Miss Abbott when she spoke to you?
Standing near the hotel entrance.
The door to her flat was wide open.
I see. I wonder if... There was no sign of a break-in. It is possible that the killer was invited in, somebody she knew. Did she say why she was standing there?
Well, she was getting a breath of night air.
Alan, what about that man?
What man?
Oh, some fellow who was loitering just round the corner from the entrance.
I thought it was rather funny at the time. It was so late, and he didn't look the type to be seen hanging around.
Can you describe him?
He was tall, well-dressed, about 50-ish, I'd say.
What was he wearing?
A dark-coloured suit, Oh, yes, and he had greying hair.
Yes, combed straight back.
I see. Anything else?
Well, I only caught a quick glimpse of his face. He quickly turned away as we passed. That's what made me suspicious.
But he looked nothing like the type of man you could suspect of robbery. Miss Abbott's flat was burgled, I take it?
No. No, so far as we can make out, no money or any of her jewelry was taken. But the flat was turned over as though the killer was hurriedly searching for something.
Oh.
When I go back to the station later, would you mind coming with me? I'd like to show you some photographs. Perhaps you might recognize your mystery man in one of them. Well, I've got some other residents to see yet. I'll be back in about an hour. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Rockwell, Mrs. Rockwell.
Anything we can do to help?
Well, isn't that a shocker?
Awful. Poor woman beaten to death no more than a few meters away. It's that man we saw. I'm sure of it, Alan.
Oh, you can't say that. For all we know, he could have been waiting for someone to come out. Perhaps waiting to give his wife a lift home. There are all sorts of reasons why he could have been standing there.
Oh, well, bang goes our trip to the Wild Coast.
We can go later this afternoon. It's less than 2 hours' drive.
Oh, I'd rather stay here and see what happens.
Are you being ghoulish?
No, I'm just interested. Aren't you? I mean, your job is mostly investigation.
Yes, insurance fraud, not murder.
It's investigation just the same. You could help the police.
Oh, come on, Katie. I'm sure the police are capable of managing without my help. In fact, they probably resent it.
Why should they? Surely solving the mystery is more important. When the lieutenant comes back, offer to help him.
No. N-O, no.
Oh, don't be so mean, Alan.
We're on holiday, remember?
Yes, but this is exciting. It won't spoil our holiday.
Last night you were complaining because old Hawksworth phoned me. Now you want me to go out and find a murderer.
For me, Alan.
No.
Think of it. A woman who lives alone and has no known friends. For some reason, she invites a man into her flat in the early hours of the morning. The man kills her, searches the flat for something. What was he looking for, Alan? He must have known her quite well. Now, doesn't that intrigue you?
Yes, I'll admit it does.
Well?
All right, I'll give it some thought.
Give me 5 minutes and we'll go for breakfast. And we can talk it over in detail and be back when the lieutenant calls for us.
Inconsistency is Katie's middle name.
Well, I don't think there's any point in looking any further.
Well, I'm sorry we couldn't be much help in this direction. The man didn't look the type to be in your rogues gallery anyway.
Well, no, he seemed more like a businessman or a banker than a crook.
Well, thanks for coming here. I'll arrange for a car to take you back.
Oh, thank you, Lieutenant. Well, go on, tell him, Alan.
No, I don't think it would be wise right now.
Tell me what?
Oh, it's nothing to do with the case. Well, not directly, if you know what I mean.
What do you mean, Mrs. Rockwell?
No, Katie.
Alan is an insurance investigator, and he's good. No, really good, Lieutenant. He wants to help you with the case. To solve it.
Look, it's very kind of you, but if you really think about it, you'll realize why I can't accept your offer. But thanks all the same.
No, I don't understand.
I have plenty of well-trained men at my disposal, Mrs. Rockwell.
Yes, but you see,
Put your brakes on, Katie. Can't you understand what Lieutenant Furry means? We're on the list of suspects. He's hardly in a position to share information with me.
Suspects? Are you really serious?
Mrs. Rockwell.
I mean, well, you can see we're trying to help. You'd have known nothing about this man lurking outside if it wasn't for us.
To be blunt with you, Mrs. Rockwell, if there really was a man there, you and your husband were the only ones to see him.
Get off your soapbox, Katie. The lieutenant is only doing his job by looking at things from every possible angle.
But why would we want to kill Miss Abbott? Go on, tell me that.
Come on, the lieutenant's got enough to do without listening to your indignant outbursts.
Oh.
There is one thing I'd like to ask you, though.
Yes, Mr. Rockwell?
What will happen to Miss Abbott's body? Has she any friends or relatives to see she has a decent funeral?
We have traced one relative. Miss Abbott has a younger sister, a Miss Linda Abbott, who lives in Johannesburg. She's been informed, and she's flying down this evening to make the arrangements.
Oh, good. So there'll be no problems in that direction.
I know. Thanks for your time. I'll come with you and organize the car.
I'm surprised at you, Alan. I didn't know you'd be so chicken. Just because he's a policeman. We've nothing to hide. Suspects, indeed.
Everyone who was in or visiting the hotel last night is automatically a suspect. Until the police can start sifting out their information. Now, don't be so darned uptight about it.
All right, so I'm overreacting. How are you going to handle it now?
By driving down to the Wild Coast and forgetting all about it.
Not on your life, Alan Rockall. We're going to see this through.
Oh, can't you understand, Katie? There's nothing I can do without police cooperation. They could pull me in for interference.
Not if you're careful. Order some more coffee, please, Alan. Now, for instance, if you had a free hand, what would you do next?
Search Miss Abbott's flat very carefully. Look for things that are out of character, things that don't fit in with her lifestyle. There's no way of doing that now. The police will have it sealed and guarded.
But won't the police themselves have checked everything?
Certainly. But even the police aren't perfect. Waiter, can you bring me some more coffee, please?
Sir.
For instance, the police will be looking directly for a murderer. Instead, I'll be looking into Miss Abbott's past, trying to find someone with a motive. I think it'll be a few days before our lieutenant starts on that particular angle.
Then there's this sister, Linda Abbott.
Yes, another spinster. I wonder how like her sister she is.
The police will let her into the flat, surely.
Yes, you have something there, Katie. The woman is sure to be as keen as anyone to see her sister's killer brought to justice. Yes, I think she'll be a great help.
And we can grab her as soon as she arrives.
Oh, no. The police will be spending most of the evening with her. Tomorrow would be the best time. Which means we can get the car and make a start for the Wild Coast, okay?
Okay, Sherlock. We start sleuthing tomorrow.
Enjoy the best of both worlds. Only 2 hours drive from Johannesburg and Pretoria and half an hour by air. The magnificent Sundown Ranch Hotel and Lion Park, just 10 kilometers from the Pilanesberg Game Reserve and Sun City Resort. It offers an exciting escape from the hustle and bustle of everyday life. Reasonable rates, excellent food, friendly service and comfortable air-conditioned rooms. It will ensure a memorable stay. Activities include tennis, squash, horse riding, the Lion Park, and much, much more. Call now to make your reservation on 014-573-1000. That's 014-573-1000. Or visit their website at www.restinations.co.za/Sundown Ranch. The Sundown Ranch Hotel and Lion Park. 2 worlds in one.
And now, Act 2 of A Woman Alone.
It's her, all right.
Well, that's a surprise.
She strikes me as being the exact opposite of her sister.
Are you sure it's her, Alan?
Positive. Twice she went in and out of the flat while I was watching.
And the tailor's dummy with her?
Oh, must be her boyfriend. While they were talking at the car, they held hands.
What a car.
He could have bought a house for the price of it.
Is it his?
I'm pretty sure of it. He was driving, and it has every conceivable extra. Oh, yes. Definitely a man's car.
And no police around?
Not a sign. They must have handed the flat over to her.
So she and her boyfriend are alone in there?
Nope. The boyfriend went off in the car.
Better still.
Yes. So if you'll finish putting on your war paint, we can go down and offer our condolences.
That's very kind of you. Came as a terrible shock. Oh, please excuse the place. Dennis and I will tidy it up later, and then we'll let 2 of the maids loose in here. The police tell me it's how Janice's killer left it.
He was very thorough.
Well, heaven knows what he was looking for. There was 300 rand in Janice's purse, and all her valuable jewelry is still on a box on the dressing table.
My husband's an investigator. Would you like him to help find the killer?
Well, I'm sure the police are quite efficient. I hardly think it's worth the cost of hiring a private detective. I mean, if the police fail, then I might give it some thought.
No, you've misunderstood me, Miss Abbott. My husband wouldn't charge you. We knew your sister, and we'd like to help, if you don't object.
Oh, I don't object, naturally.
Oh, good.
Will you be staying here for a while?
No, I couldn't. Bit creepy, don't you think? My fiancé has booked us into a beachfront hotel for a week.
We could see everything's done here for you.
Oh, would you? That's very kind of you. I don't seem to have the heart.
And did you see much of your sister?
No. In fact, I haven't seen her since she bought this place.
When was that?
Oh, must be 15 years now.
So long ago. Didn't you get along well?
To be honest, no. Janice was a very quiet woman, introspective and terribly, terribly conservative. We did write occasionally, but I was so busy I didn't answer the last few she wrote.
What do you do?
I'm a dress designer. I have my own salon in Johannesburg. It's called the Abbey Fashion House. Abbey. Abbott, you see.
You seem a lot younger than your sister.
10 years. I'm 36.
Oh.
Yeah, she was more of a mother to me. We were brought up in an orphanage, you see.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yes. Our parents were killed in an air crash. There was an aunt living in Pietermaritzburg, Auntie Gladys, Mrs. Hines. She had arthritis pretty bad and couldn't look after us.
Oh, it must have been a traumatic experience for you.
Oh, it was. When I was 8, Janice left the orphanage. I remember crying night after night for 3 years. Then, when Janice was 21, I was released into her care. I began to live again. Well, for a while. But even then we didn't get along very well. Janice was stricter than any mother with me. When I was 16, I had to be in bed by 10. Can you believe that? Then when I left school and got a decent job, our ways parted. I took a flat of my own, and for the next 3 years we saw very little of each other. Then, 15 years ago, she came to Durban and bought this place. And our separation was complete.
And why did you come to Durban?
Oh, we were born here. And to Janice, there was no other place in the world to come up to it. Oh, that must be Dennis. He'll be wanting to take me off to lunch.
Oh, you can go. Alan and I will look after here for you.
Well, thanks a lot. I'll just get my bag.
When will you be coming back here?
Not at all, if I can help it. Oh, I suppose I'll have to in order to dispose of Janice's things.
And the management of the hotel?
Oh, I don't know. I think when the season ends, I'll put it up for sale. Dennis knows a chap in Joburg who'll manage it for me in the meantime. Oh, lend me your pen, please. Thanks. I'll just jot down my hotel phone number. It's suite 441. There.
Oh, right. The place will be like new when you come back.
Once again, thanks a lot. I'll let Lieutenant Paris know you're looking after the flat for me.
Right.
Well, she is different.
A real bombshell.
Okay, you can stop staring now. Close the door and let's start searching.
Well.
What is it?
We've established she had 2 bank accounts. One in the name of the hotel and another in her own name. Neither looking very healthy. But now...
Oh, a building society book.
With a credit of 133,000 in it.
So much? Where did you find it?
There was a false bottom in her jewellery box. It was in there.
Hidden?
Yes, Katie, hidden. And I wonder why.
She was a very secretive type of person.
Well, not with her normal bank accounts. Why was this hidden as though it were a guilty secret? And so much money, too. Look at it.
Oh.
Every 6 months there has been 6,000 rand deposited. And it goes back for years, regular as clockwork.
I can be bloody minded, Alan. Do you think what I think?
Blackmail payoff?
What else? Regular amounts paid in from nowhere. The money didn't come from the hotel. You can see from the accounts that it's only broken even.
Yes, and there's no sign of any investments. It's all very suspicious.
One thing struck me when Linda Abbott was talking. Where did Janice get the money to buy a place like this? Even 15 years ago, it must have cost a small fortune.
Yes, I thought of that too, but it wasn't prudent to ask just then.
I mean, a working girl would never save up enough for a down payment on this place even.
Well, now we've found the anomaly. Someone, somewhere, was sending her the equivalent of 1,000 rand a month. Our task now is to find out who.
It could be the killer's motive.
Yes. If we find the donor, then I think we'll also find her killer.
So how will you go about it?
I don't know yet. But let's keep our promise to Linda and start tidying up the place. Then I'll go and get photocopies made of this building society book before I hand it over to Lieutenant Fourie.
Right. You do in here, and I'll do in the bedroom.
One more oddity.
Oh, what's that?
There are several framed photographs here. Don't you see what I mean?
No, not really.
Janice Abbott suffered from an overdose of vanity, I think.
Of course. All the pictures are of herself.
Only herself. Alone in every single one of them.
But it fits what we know of her character.
While we're cleaning up, we might find a few snaps of her when she was younger. They might provide a clue. If there was a man in her life, he could well be the one she was blackmailing. There might be a picture of the two of them together.
Oh, I enjoyed the dinner, Alan.
Well, we found nothing else, did we? No snapshots, no diary or phone numbers. That Janice Abbott was a strange one, all right.
We should talk to her sister again.
Yes, that's next on the agenda. But something else is puzzling me.
Oh? What?
Why did her killer decide to do it now, of all times?
Because he was fed up paying her $12,000 a year.
But why now? Why not years ago, when she first started milking him?
Well, perhaps he can't afford it anymore, and she threatened to blow the works.
Possibly.
Whoever he is, he must have been very wealthy to have kept paying it for so long. How far back did the book go?
11 years.
Oh, she probably got the money to buy the hotel from him.
Which would mean he was paying her for more than 15 years. Wow. He must have done something awful.
Perhaps another murder.
Now, going back to what I was saying, why now? You could be right about him no longer being able to afford it. But having milked him for so long, she surely would have let him off the hook. Oh, no. I have a feeling that's not the case.
Well, what other reason could there be?
Say this fellow hasn't seen her since she's been paying up. Maybe he lives in Joburg, which might account for her moving to Durban so he couldn't find her. She collects off him for years, living a recluse-like existence, perhaps always fearing that one day he will find out where she is.
Well, surely he'd know about the hotel.
Not necessarily. Not if he just handed over the cash. To continue, Durban is a holiday city, and thousands come here during the season. Say our killer was here on a rare holiday and saw her.
Oh, she hardly ever went out.
At 8 every morning, she went down to the beach for a dip in the sea. She was a creature of habit, remember? Perhaps he saw her there and followed her back to the hotel. With a little bit of checking around, he'd soon be able to find out all about her. He decides to kill her and remove the threat that's been hanging over him for all these years.
Would she have let such a man into her flat?
I wonder. There might have been a reason to do so. She seemed a bit edgy when we spoke to her.
It's a good theory.
Which is all it is at present. Tomorrow I'll have a chat with Linda Abbott.
We'll have a chat with her, you mean?
Yes, the lieutenant told me about the money. Quite astonishing, isn't it?
You've no idea from where it originated?
Not a clue. Perhaps the profits from the hotel.
Tell me, Miss Abbott, what did your sister do when she lived in Johannesburg?
Oh, it's so long ago.
It could be important.
Well, all I know is she was a secretary in a big investment company. Couldn't tell you which one, though.
For how long?
3 years, I think.
What did she do immediately she left?
Well, I told you, bought the hotel.
Immediately?
Yes, immediately. Now, if you don't mind, I must join Dennis on the beach.
Yes, of course, and thanks for your help.
Oh, and I must thank you for fixing up the flat. There'll be a manager arriving sometime next week. He'll be living in there. I'll see to it that your deposit is refunded and all other charges during your stay are cancelled.
Well, that's very kind of you.
No, please, I insist. It's the least I can do.
Well, thank you. One last question before you go, Miss Abbott. Did your sister ever have a romantic attachment?
Janice, you must be joking. She hated men like cats hate water.
Are you still lying here, Alan? I thought you were going in for a dip. The water's gorgeous.
I will later.
Deep in thought?
Very deep.
Well, there doesn't seem to be much left we can do now. We're up against the proverbial brick wall.
Perhaps. I was thinking about Linda Abbott. No, don't give me that look. I wasn't thinking of her in that way. There's something about her, something false. When we spoke to her, she was being very cautious and evasive. It's as though she wants me to stop probing and asking questions.
Well, she didn't strike me as being like that. She had a lunch date, that was all.
I'm accustomed to watching people's eyes, Katie. I wouldn't say she was telling me lies, but she inwardly resented my questions. And believe me, I know what I'm talking about. I'm convinced that woman's hiding some facts from me.
For example?
Well, she possibly knows where the monthly payments came from and the reason for them.
Well, why didn't you ask her point blank?
Oh, that's not the way to do it. She'd merely say she doesn't know and become even more guarded. I'm convinced that something happened in Johannesburg 15 years ago, and that it was the reason why Janice Abbott was murdered.
Oh, you've really got your teeth into it now, haven't you? Like a dog with a stolen string of boerewors.
Another thing. Do you think you'd recognize this fellow if you saw him again?
Yes, I think so.
Well, I think he's in Durban on holiday.
Oh.
So if we make a tour around the beachfront hotels this afternoon and this evening, we just might be lucky enough to spot him.
And if we do?
Well, that's as far as my interest goes. I'll find out where he's staying and let Lieutenant Fourie know.
A tour around the hotels will suit me fine. Now then, what about that dip in the sea? Oh, I'm exhausted, Alan.
Yeah, so am I. Just as well I stuck to drinking ginger ale.
Yes, a marathon non-alcoholic pub crawl.
All for nothing.
Oh, well, I gave up hope 3 stops back. Oh, I still think it'd be easier to ask Linda Abbott a few very leading questions.
Yes, you could be right. Okay. Tomorrow I'll pay her another visit, but no leading questions. I'll be tactful. Keep her off her guard and gradually squeeze little bits of info from her. She won't even realize it's happening.
Oh, who can be phoning at this time of night? Hello?
Would I be speaking to Miss Linda Abbott?
Yes? Who's that?
I spoke to Janice a few nights ago. She wouldn't tell me. Perhaps you will.
Who is that?
A man who wants the truth. I think you know who I am.
You must be the man the police are looking for. The man who killed my sister.
I just want to talk to you and find out the truth. Please.
Leave me alone. I don't want to see you.
I'll contact you again.
No. No, it can't be. I must talk to Dennis. He'll know how to handle it.
Come and look out of the window, Alan.
What is it?
I think we're about to get a visitor. I recognized the balding head that got out of that police car.
Our friend Lieutenant Fourie.
He isn't going to be very pleased with us, you know.
Oh, don't worry, Katie. I'll just blame all our nosiness on you.
Because you're scared of him.
Oh, terrified.
Very well. I'll just flash him one of my dazzling smiles and admit to interfering in police business. And if I'm going to plead guilty, then the least you can do is open the door.
Right.
Hello, Mr. Rockwell.
Hello, Lieutenant. Please come in.
Thank you.
Oh, how nice. Hello, Lieutenant.
Hello, Mrs. Rockwell. I'm sorry it's so late at night. I did call twice earlier, but you were out.
We had a night on the town.
And rather a lot to drink.
I hope you weren't driving, sir.
Oh, no, of course not, Lieutenant. We took taxis every inch of the way. Would you like to sit down?
Give the lieutenant a drink, darling.
What would you like? I've some whiskey or some brandy?
Yes, the license for this hotel does not extend to allowing guests to have alcoholic drinks in their rooms, Mr.
Ah, yes, of course.
My Lieutenant, we are being officious. So late at night, too.
Yes, I'll admit it's late. Oh, this case has been giving me a hard time. I'll have a brandy.
Good.
No ice, I'm afraid.
Who wants to spoil good brandy?
Actually, we were just about to go to bed.
I hear that Miss Linda Abbott left you in temporary charge of her sister's flat.
Yes. When we talked to her this morning, she seemed so distressed.
We offered to help out.
Oh, I'm sure she appreciated it. However, I gained the impression that Linda Abbott was quite cool about Janice's murder.
Oh?
Certainly not distressed.
Cheers, Lieutenant.
Oh, yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, yeah, that is how a man should drink brandy.
And a lady.
I suppose so, yeah. I also heard from one of the maids that you thoroughly searched Miss Abbott's place.
Well, we did have a nose around, yes.
You know what women are like, Lieutenant.
It was just curiosity.
Oh, of course.
You didn't find anything that might have some bearing on this case, perhaps?
You would have been the first to know.
I'm sure your men were very thorough when they searched, Lieutenant.
Of course, but there's always a chance that some small item might not be detected. Mr. Rockall, you would do well to remember my advice about interference in a police case.
I wouldn't think of it.
We're in Durban for a holiday, remember? Another shot of brandy?
Yeah, just one more before I go.
Of course, if we do come up with a solution to the mystery, you won't mind if we pass it on to you?
You know, you people think life is like it is in the movies and detective stories. Tracking down a merciless killer takes a lot of hard and very boring work. Solution doesn't appear just like magic, you know.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I trust you're not driving that car, Lieutenant.
There is a constable waiting behind the wheel, Mrs. Rockall. I must be going. It's been a long day.
Well, I'll see you to the door.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rockall. Mrs. Rockall, good night.
Good night.
Good night, Lieutenant.
What's tickled your fancy now?
Just watch through the window, Alan. No, don't let him see you. But if there's a constable in that car, he must be invisible.
It's all the rage these days, having invisible constables.
Flower Connection has just opened their flagship store in Linden, Johannesburg, at 65 on 4th, situated in 4th Avenue. For fresh cut flowers, plants and florist accessories at wholesale prices, come to Flower Connection. Call Jenny on 076 951 9449 or visit our website at www.flowerconnection.com.
Now the curtain is about to rise on Act 3 of A Woman Alone.
It's okay. There's no need to hurry.
Oh, why?
I just tried to phone Linda Abbott. She told me she and her boyfriend checked out at 1 this morning. She mumbled something about a sudden emergency and she had to get back urgently to Joburg.
Oh, sounds fishy to me.
Yes, damn suspicious. When you're out of the bath, we'll give the whole situation a rethink.
I think best in the bath.
Oh.
Now, for instance, is it possible Linda could have murdered her sister?
No, I doubt that. The police would have certainly checked out her alibi. If there was any suspicion, they wouldn't have let her leave Durban.
If they knew she was leaving.
Well, if she hasn't told them, they'll issue an arrest warrant. Nope. I think we can discard Linda as a suspect.
Nothing's changed, though, Alan. She must still be holding out the information you need to follow the case up.
Oh, I could phone her. She's sure to be back in Joburg by now.
Yes, and probably sleeping after the journey. Old Hawksworth owes you a favour or two.
Oh, I could hardly ask him to interview Linda and get her to...
No, Alan, I don't mean that. But we could try to find out where Janice Abbott worked when she was living there. It could give you another lead.
Yes, you're right. We know it was an investment company, and she left it 15 years ago after 3 years working there. It's a long time to go back.
They'll still have records.
I'll get him to sound out Linda's financial situation at the same time. Perhaps times are hard in the dress designing business.
But you've already said we can count Linda out as a suspect.
Not entirely. She could have employed someone to do the dirty work for her. Between this hotel and Janice's Building Society account, she stands to inherit something in the region of R1.5 million.
I never thought of that. This boyfriend of hers, Dennis something or other, I wonder if...
No, he'll be clean. The police will have checked on him, too. From what I saw of him through the window, he looks nothing like the man we saw standing outside here the night Janice Abbott was done in. He's tall, blonde, athletic, and certainly no older than 35. I'll phone old Hawkie now and see what he can do for me. As you say, he owes me a favor or two.
Alan, I don't know, I just thought of something else which might help.
Yes, what?
Aunt Gladys.
Aunt who? I haven't an Aunt Gladys, and nor have you. And even if I had...
Janice Abbott had an Aunt Gladys in Pietermaritzburg. Don't you remember her mentioning it?
Good girl, of course.
Can't remember the surname, though.
Oh, let me think now. It reminded me of cans of... Yes, I've got it. Hines.
Ah.
Gladys Hines.
Yes, dead right. I remember now.
The problem is she might not be alive after all these years. She had arthritis then, and it must have been at least 30 years ago.
Well, it's worth a try.
I suppose it is. But what are we likely to find out from her?
I don't know. Perhaps some background. You never know. Janice might have been in contact with her. I mean, if not physically, by telephone.
Yes. Her name might be in the directory. Now, wait a tick. There was a list of business phone numbers down in Janice's flat. Get yourself out of that bath while I go down and get it. If you're not out when I come back, I'll pour a bottle of iced water over.
Oh, just you dare, Alan Rockwell. Just you try it. And you'll spend the next few weeks sleeping like a monk.
I've got it, as well as the Marisburg directory. Aha, I see you finally managed to get out of the tub.
Yes, your sleeping like a monk suits me less than it does you. Here, now, give me the directory. You check the list.
There are a couple of O11s here, and... Yes, look. Where O331 is.
Mm-hmm. Wait, here it is. Yes, it's the Peter Maritzburg dining code.
Uh-huh.
Now, just give me a moment to look up the name.
I wonder if one of those Joburg numbers would be Linda's.
Well, it would make Linda out to be a liar because she said Janice hadn't contacted her for years. Let's see now. Right, here we are. Now, let me see that number. Oh, no. There's nothing like it.
You've got the German spelling. Try the English version. Hines.
Ah, of course. Ah, here they are. Right on target. Look, Alan. It's even under the name Mrs. G. Hines.
Great. So the old dolly must be younger than we thought. Right, I'll phone her.
What? And spoil my day? It's a nice run up the Western Freeway. Let's drive and see her. It's far better than telephoning anyway.
Okay, why not? Get your war paint on while I phone Hawksworth and tell him what I want.
Thank you, Maud. Please help yourself to tea and biscuits.
Thank you, Mrs. Hines. Oh, it's a beautiful place you have here.
It has been in my husband's family for over 90 years now. Oh. He's been gone for close on 40 years.
And you live here all on your own?
Yes, I've got used to it. It was lonely at first, and it took me many years to face up to life without Harold. Then when I did, I was part of the house, and the house was part of me.
Did the police inform you of Janice's death?
I doubt if they knew we were related. No, I read about it in the newspaper. In fact, I was about to call on someone to arrange the funeral, and then I heard that Linda had come down from Johannesburg to manage things. Is she still in Durban?
She left last night.
She was the unruly one. If there was ever any trouble, it came from Linda. I don't suppose she's changed much. You say you're investigating poor Janice's death, Mr. Rockwell. Have you any clues? Could it have been a burglar?
It was someone Janice knew. That's why I'm here. There's a strong possibility that the killer was a man from Janice's past.
I don't think you'll find any man in Janice's past. She was a man-hater. But Linda more than made up for it. She's had more men than a shungalo has feet.
Something happened when Janice and Linda were living in Johannesburg, and it has a strong bearing on the case. I'm sure there must be some way you can help me.
Well, I don't know whether the baby has any bearing on the case. It's the only incident I can really tell you about.
There was a baby?
Yes. She came here and stayed with me while she had it. Nobody was more surprised than me.
Okay, thanks a lot. Yes, I've got all the names written down. I'll see you next week.
What are all the names, Alan?
He says a girl called Janice Abbott worked for a company called Tip Top Investments for 3 years.
Wow.
This is a list of all the board and managers. Just about everyone who could afford to pay what Janice was blackmailing them for.
Ooh, there's a lot.
Hawksworth says he'll keep sniffing to see if he can find any dirty linen. Meanwhile, let's drive along the beachfront and have a slap-up dinner.
Oh,
We can go over all the known facts with a bottle of wine to loosen our memories.
Oh, great idea. I'll be ready in 5 minutes flat.
If you are, it'll be a record.
That's the second bottle, Alan, and we're still fog-bound.
Ah, I've got all the facts hung up like washing on a line. I've examined them from every angle, and still the pieces don't fit together.
The wine's made me feel a little dizzy.
Let's get back to the baby. I still can't see what bearing it has on the... What's the matter, Katie?
Shh, keep your voice down, Alan. That man over there. It's him.
Good grief. You could be right.
I'm sure of it. And by the look of it, the woman with him must be his wife. I'll wait here. You go quickly and phone Lieutenant Vree.
No, not yet. I need to know more.
Such as?
Where he's staying. He could be in his hotel.
He's paying his bill.
So am I. Then we'll follow them. Waiter, the bill, please. I'm in a hurry. Sorry.
Be careful, Alan. He could be dangerous, even though he doesn't look it.
I've got it.
Oh,
the receptionist was very helpful. Mr. Stedfield, suite 1308.
Good. Now you can tell the lieutenant.
Not yet. Here, just look at this.
Mm-hmm.
The list Hawksworth gave me. Paul Stedfield, Managing Director of Tip Top Investments. We've got him, Katie.
Right. That's all the evidence you need. Call the lieutenant.
Come with me into the phone booth.
Clever. So you've memorized the number.
I looked it up on the reception counter.
Oh, good.
Excelsior Hotel.
Hello. Can you put me through to 1308, please?
Hold the line, please.
Alan, have you gone mad?
Shh, just wait.
Hello?
Mr. Stedfield, my name is Alan Rockall, and I'd urgently like to speak to you. I'm in the hotel lounge.
What about? It's after 10 o'clock.
It's about Miss Janice Abbott.
I see.
I'll be waiting in a quiet corner of the lounge.
Very well, I'll be down in a minute.
First of all, can I get you a drink?
No, thank you. Please explain what you are and what you have to tell me.
I've been studying the murder of Janice Abbott.
My husband's an investigator.
You are not connected directly with the police?
No, this is private. We saw you standing outside the Wellmont Rise Hotel just before Miss Abbott was killed. You must know the police are looking for you.
Yes, I know. It was only a matter of time before I plucked up sufficient courage to call in and tell them what I know.
Oh. Then you did kill Miss Abbott?
I pushed her and she hit her head. At the time, I thought she was merely unconscious. I searched the flat and went back to her, and when I wasn't able to find what I was looking for, well, that was when I realized she was dead. I must have panicked and run. I don't know. It's all like a bad dream now.
Was she blackmailing you?
No, not exactly. I wanted to see my son, Warren. That's what she called him, Warren. I wanted to know where he was, how he was doing at school. All the things a father should know about his only son.
Mr. Stedfield, I don't think you
Please,
need to...
Katie, let Mr. Stedfield tell us in his own way. Now, if you don't mind, sir, from the beginning.
I don't know why I should tell you. Rather, the police,
Let me assure you, I think it is better to tell me first. You'll see why later.
Very well. From the beginning. 15 years ago, Janice Abbott and I had an affair. It was very brief, and it caught me at a weak moment. She became pregnant, and it put her into a position where she could ruin me, and especially destroy my marriage. And yet, secretly, I was pleased. Moira and I were unable to have children, and the thought of having a child of my own thrilled me. I was only too ready to agree to Janice's demands. I paid her a lump sum, plus a 6-monthly check to cover Warren's education. I wanted the very best for him, you understand. She went away and kept it a secret where she was living. At first, she promised to let me see Warren, but later refused, saying Warren must come of age before he knows who his father is. Now, this distressed me. I I had to agree.
Pardon me, but how did she get in touch with you?
Now, Janice was a clever one. She used to write, but the letters were posted from all over. Cape Town, Rustenburg, Pretoria, just about everywhere.
How did you pay her?
Directly into a building society account number that she sent me. For 13 years, that is the only contact I've had with her.
I see. And what happened then?
I had to accept the situation and wait until Warren was 18. But then Moira and I decided to take a holiday here in Durban. One morning I saw Janice on the beach. She changed very little from when I knew her. Beautiful, aloof, and cold. I begged her to let me know where Warren was, but she refused. I followed her to the hotel and discovered that she owned it. She must have bought it using the $150,000 I gave her as a down payment.
Wow, $150,000?
It was worth it to avoid the scandal. Or so it seemed at the time. Late that night I couldn't sleep and I phoned Janice and begged her to let me call and see her. I was determined, you see, to force the whereabouts of my son from her. She agreed and I went to the hotel. I stood outside for several minutes trying to compose myself and to rehearse the argument I was going to use. And that was when you passed me. Then I went in and found her standing in the doorway. She gave me a drink but adamantly refused to tell me anything about Warren. We quarreled and I pushed her. Well, I've told you the rest. I searched the flat looking for a photograph, an invoice, a school report, something that might give me a clue as to where my son was staying, but there was nothing. It was as if he had been wiped off the face of the earth.
And does your wife know anything about this?
Moira? No, I never had the heart to tell her. She's a very sensitive woman. It would have caused her a lot of distress. But I'm afraid it will be a secret no more. Now, why did you say it was better for me to talk to you before the police?
Because you don't know the whole story.
What else is there to know?
Brace yourself for a shock, Mr. Stedfield.
All right. Now I'm braced for the worst earthquake nature can throw at me.
Well, this may affect you even more. Let me tell you what really happened 15 years ago.
You think I don't know?
Take my word for it, you don't know. Janice's sister Linda was a very promiscuous teenager. She became pregnant, and elder sister Janice worked out a plan to make it profitable. She became intimate with you, overcoming her natural hatred of men, and later told you it was she who was pregnant.
Janice and I were only intimate once.
Once can be enough.
Now, wait a minute. What are you suggesting?
Please, hear me out. The two girls went to their aunt at Pietermaritzburg where the child was born. He was christened Warren and registered as Janice's child. For a hefty monthly payment, the aunt looked after the child.
You mean Warren wasn't mine after all?
To be brutally frank, Mr. Stedfield, you were conned by Janice Abbott out of a small fortune.
Are you sure of this?
Absolutely. The baby photos you received were of Linda's child.
This is horrifying.
And the worst is to come. When the boy was only 2, he was struck down by pneumonia and died. It didn't take Janice long to realize she could easily continue milking you. You didn't know where she was, so how could you prove there was no son? She continued to let you know, with the occasional letter, that Warren was well. Am I right?
Yes. Yes, she wrote about the naughty things he got up to, how he was progressing at school. But really, this is quite unbelievable.
But true, I'm afraid.
So, I have no son.
No.
Excuse me, I'm trying to stop myself from crying. All these years,
I know what a shock it must be for you.
I don't know what to do. Everything in my life is gone. I have no son. The future for Moira and me is bleak, to say the least.
I suggest you tell the police as soon as possible after you've told your wife. It could be dangerous to brood over it. I don't think the future is as bleak as you think it will be. And I'm sure if your wife loves you, she'll stand by you.
Oh, she will. She will.
Go up now and tell her. And then in half an hour, I'll telephone Lieutenant Furry and say you want to make a statement about Miss Abbott's death.
Yes, I must face up to it. And thank you for bringing matters to a head. Now that I'm forced into making a decision, it will be easier. Yes, I'll go up now and talk to Moira. She'll be wondering where I am. 30 minutes will be just enough time. And again, thank you.
You don't think he'll do anything silly, do you, Alan, like killing himself?
No, he's not the type.
Or pack his things and make a run for it?
He's intelligent enough to know it would be a waste of time. Oh, no. He'll face the music and be relieved that he has.
If you'll just sign this, please, Mrs. Rockwell.
Yes.
What do you think will happen to him?
Oh, I'd say the charges will be reduced to manslaughter. I wouldn't be at all surprised if he didn't get a suspended sentence.
I felt so sorry for him last night.
So did I, to be honest. By the way, everything you said has been confirmed. Linda Abbott admits her sister set out to Constedfield, but she says she didn't know Janice kept up the pretense after the child's death.
That's possible, I suppose.
Will you be continuing with your holiday in Durban?
Certainly.
Please, no more trying to solve mysteries.
The only mystery we'll be working on is how to beat a roulette wheel.
Now that is what I call a real mystery.
We'll go down to the Wild Coast this afternoon.
If you have the money, honey, I'll be right beside you.
Woman Alone by Ron Evans, you heard Harold Freed as Alan Rockwell, Maureen Adair as Katie Rockwell, Jill Fenson as Janice Abbott, Caroline Smart as Linda Abbott, Frank Graham as Lieutenant Fourie, John Simpson as Stedfield, and Midge Doherty as Gladys Hines. The play was produced by Anne Freed.
We present the best of South African radio drama for your listening pleasure in Radio Theatre. And now, Act 1 of this week's story.
We present The Blessington Letters, a play for Settlers' Day by Annette Mackenzie and Jack Mullen. The Blessington Letters.
Cape Colony, Wednesday, the 6th of March, 1907. My dear mother, my very first letter from South Africa. It will perhaps seem strange to you to see the words Cape Colony at the head of this page. I assure you, it is even more strange to write them. For whilst the reality of my surroundings leaves me in no doubt that I have in fact arrived at my destination, a part of my brain seems unable to believe it. The voyage was both enjoyable and salutary, and I am now eager to apply myself to my new profession. Speaking of which, I hope and trust that I shall soon dispel any remaining misgivings you may have about the wisdom of my decision to come here. I know that while for my sake you have attempted to bury your doubts, the echoes remain.
Africa? You've decided to go to Africa?
South Africa, Mother.
Whether it be south, north, east, or west is of little consequence. Why Africa at all? It's a continent of war and savages.
The war in South Africa has been over for 5 years, Mother.
I'm aware of that, Geoffrey. What on earth would you do with yourself in South Africa? The family has no background of colonial service.
I intend to farm.
To farm? And is it really necessary to undertake a journey to distant Africa for that purpose? If the home farm doesn't satisfy you, there's no shortage of good farmland in England. There's Uncle Gerald's place in Warwickshire, and he has another somewhere in Ireland. Queen's County, I believe. Yes, Queen's County. I'll speak to Gerald and...
Thank you, Mother, but I already have a place of my own. In the Cape Colony.
I see. Naturally, you must do as you think fit, Geoffrey. But frankly, I'm somewhat taken aback. It has come as rather a surprise to me.
I know, Mother. I know. It's a sheep farm, actually, in the middle of a semi-desert.
Geoffrey, do you seriously intend to live in a desert surrounded by sheep? Like some Sudanese shepherd?
It won't be quite as primitive as you make it sound, Mother.
I'm merely repeating what you said, Geoffrey. And you must agree it does sound primitive. Positively nomadic, in fact.
Well, I assure you it's not. It's a very dry climate and very healthy, I understand. Sheep do well there.
That's comforting, if you happen to be a sheep. But people, Geoffrey, how do people fare in this arid wasteland?
Really, Mother, I'm not dashing off into the Sahara, you know. There are lots of farms, many English families. It's quite a well-established community. I'm not exactly pioneering or breaking new ground.
Perhaps not. But you see it as adventurous and exciting, don't you? Oh, if you feel you must get away, why not take yourself up to Scotland for a few months?
Mother, I've already bought the farm. I own it.
You've purchased a farm? Are you serious, Geoffrey?
Absolutely serious. That's why I'm telling you now, Mother. Richard acted as my agent in the matter. I received a letter from him this very morning. The transaction has been finalized and the property is now registered in my name. I own it.
Your cousin Richard in Africa? What has come over this family all of a sudden? Some wanderlust or strange foreign fever that has everybody uprooting themselves and hurrying away to Africa? I find it most peculiar. I had no idea Richard had gone there.
He hasn't left England, Mother. He managed the negotiations from this end.
Am I therefore to understand that you have purchased a sheep farm on the African continent, sight unseen, Geoffrey?
Yes, Mother, I have.
How extraordinary. I must say I find it very difficult to believe. In other words, you have no conception of what lies in store for you.
But of course I have. I have a complete description of the farm, an inventory of its equipment, stock, everything.
But you've seen nothing. You have a piece of paper with a description, which I have no doubt is highly colored and extremely euphemistic.
Richard is experienced in these matters. Too experienced to allow any double-dealing, if that's what you're suggesting.
What I'm suggesting is that you take advice from our solicitors. Perhaps there's some way in which you can extricate yourself from this ill-advised commitment.
Mother, I don't wish to extricate myself. I am entirely happy with the transaction. Oh, I appreciate your concern, and I know that your sole intention is to prevent me from indulging in what you obviously consider to be an act of gross folly. Believe me, it is not. Or should I say, I sincerely hope it is not.
Oh, Geoffrey, so headstrong, so stubborn. And I suppose if I were to be truly honest with myself, I should admit that my reasons for opposing your intended departure are not wholly unselfish. Put quite simply, I shall miss you and worry about you.
There is a fascination about the Karoo which is difficult to express. Can you imagine limitless miles of red, parched earth, stretching to horizons undulating with heat? Can you imagine this seemingly infinite plain studded with sparse knots of strange, sun-scorched little bushes, peppered with low, barren hills, which incidentally are called by the Dutch word, kopjes? The vastness of the landscape puts man and all his mundane affairs into true perspective. I've just read the above attempted description and find that, despite the poetic overtones of the language, it really captures nothing of the Karoo. Perhaps there is no way to explain it. It is more to be experienced than spoken of. That is something you could bear in mind, Mother, the prospect of a visit out here. I hope one day you will make the journey. I know that you would find the climate most agreeable, and I'm sure that you would enjoy seeing the farm, or at least a part of it, since in toto it is larger than the Channel Islands put together. I expect you may find that hard to believe. So did Barrett at first. Incidentally, you wouldn't recognize your erstwhile underfootman, Mother. I'm glad I persuaded him to accompany me. He was the right person to bring along. Even in so short a space of time, I can see that he has already taken to this new life like a duck to water. That simile is rather inappropriate, since water is something he has found little of in his new surroundings.
7 Oaks, Cape Colony. 7:20, Monday, April the 22nd, 1907. Dear Gladys, hope this finds you in the pink, as it leaves me. Well, not pink anymore, nor red neither, though I was red enough for the first few weeks here. Seems like we got a different sun in this country, and much more of it. You'd scarce believe how hot it is. Stand out in it for 10 minutes and you're like a beetroot. Leastways, that's how it was at first. But I'm getting used to it now. And instead of getting red, I go more of a mahogany shade. Same colour as her ladyship's dining room table. I'm sorry I've taken so long to write, after having promised you and all. Truth to tell, there's been so much on the go since we arrived, I just never got a chance until now. Did you notice I've written 7 Oaks at the top of this letter? That's Mr. Jeffrey's name for the farm, and he hopes to have 7 good English oaks growing in due course. The life out here is so different. You just couldn't imagine it, Gladys. And nothing like we thought it would be. When I think of all the wrong guesses we made. Mr. Jeffrey's paying me fair out there, so why not take the opportunity and go? But that's the way I see it. How else would I ever get to Africa?
But, Tom, all those lions and tigers and all.
Oh, there ain't no tigers in Africa, Gladys. Didn't they teach you that at school?
Well, lions, then. There'll be lions there.
Yeah, I shouldn't wonder. Quite a few of those lads knocking around, I expect.
They prowl round the jungle. I read about it once in a book. And there's swamps and snakes and people die of terrible fevers.
Not everyone. Lots of folk live to tell the tale. What about David Livingstone, then?
He's one of the people I was thinking about. He died of a terrible fever.
Because he ran out of quinine, that's why. I went to Sunday school too, you know. And don't forget all the adventures he had. Don't forget that. That's just what I'm looking forward to. All the adventures. Just think of it, Gladys. Instead of me being stuck here, having supper in the servants' hall, we'll be building campfires, cooking our meals under the stars.
That's if a lion doesn't make a meal of you first, Tom Barrett. I reckon you're mad to think of going when you're doing so well here. Remember, Jenkins will be retiring one of these days, and that will mean promotion for everyone. You too. From underfootman to footman.
Yeah, I know, Gladys. I know all about that. We'll all move one rung up the ladder. Oh, being in service is a nice, steady job, I grant you. Safe. Well, that's the whole trouble. I'm 19, and I've been here since the day I left school. Life's just passing me by. I want to do something different, something out of the ordinary before I settle down.
I should think it would be much harder to settle down once you got used to jungles and such like.
No, because then I'd have done it, you see. I'd have done it. And I'd have something to remember, to look back on. Anyway, even supposing I wanted to settle down, how could I? Well, you're only 16, as your dad keeps reminding me.
What's that got to do with you settling down, then?
Well, when you're old enough and I've saved enough money, wouldn't it be nice if we could have a little place of our own?
If you survived the jungle and all them wild animals.
We had all the wrong ideas of what it would be like out here. Oh, sorry about the big blot. I tried to mop it up, and it made it worse. Gladys, guess what? I might have been the owner of this farm, believe it or not. What a lark. Me owning a farm. Ha, ha. But it could have happened. Before Mr. Jeffrey bought it, the man who owned it put it up as a prize in a lottery. At £5 a ticket. That's the truth, Gladys, so help me. I don't really know what happened about the lottery. Maybe he didn't sell enough tickets or something. Then along comes Mr. Jeffrey and ups and buys it. But the fact remains, if yours truly had been here then, and always supposing I'd had enough money to buy a ticket, the farm could have been mine, if I'd won the lottery. Oh, well, it's nice to dream about it. And so are you. Write and tell me all the news. How's her ladyship doing, by the way? I dare say she's sorely missing Mr. Jeffrey.
Blessington Hall, Wednesday, 25th of December, 1907. My dearest Jeffrey, my thoughts are with you this Christmas Day. Charles and Helen and the 2 children are, of course, here for the holiday period, but I'm very much aware that our family circle is incomplete. It has been snowing since Monday, and as I look out through the library window, everything is cloaked in soft, quiet whiteness. The icicles jutting down from the cornice above the window, like tapering glass fingers, remind me of when you and Charles were little boys and used to snap them off and employ them very briefly as fencing foils. How long ago that seems. How long ago and how recent. The children have built a snowman on the croquet lawn and are busily engaged in some esoteric rite which involves dancing around it in circles and throwing handfuls of snow into the air. Seeing them out there, wrapped up against the cold, I find it impossible to imagine that where you are, there is heat and sunshine.
Merry Christmas, Barrett.
And to you, Mr. Geoffrey. Very Merry Christmas, sir. Well, I ought to believe it is Christmas with blue skies and sun scorching down. It doesn't seem right. I wonder if it's snowing at home.
Perhaps. Who knows? However, I think it's safe to assume that it'll be cold.
Oh, it'll be that all right, sir. There'll be a huge log fire burning in the servants' hall, a steaming bowl of rum punch. Oh, I can see it all.
A touch of nostalgia, Barrett?
Beg pardon, sir?
I was wondering if you were feeling a little homesick.
Oh, me, sir? Oh, no, not homesick, not really. Well, maybe just a bit. It would be nice to see a familiar face, wouldn't it, sir?
Are you thinking of any particular familiar face, Barrett?
Well, sir, now you mention it, I do have a particular one in mind. Yeah, I do, I must admit.
Hazarding a wild guess, would the face be a female one?
It would that, sir.
Mm-hmm. A young and pretty face?
Oh, she's pretty, all right, sir. Pretty as a bunch of daisies, she is. You've seen her yourself, sir, many a time.
Have I?
Yes, sir. She's one of the maids at Blessington Hall. Gladys Smith. Old Bob Smith, the gardener's daughter. Been 2 years in service.
Oh, Smith's daughter, yes. Yes, a very pretty child.
Oh, more than a child, sir. She's near on 17 now. I've been sort of waiting for her to grow up, you might say.
And you keep up a correspondence with her, do you?
Oh, I do my best. Though I must say I'm not much of a hand at writing letters.
Tuesday, 9th of June, 1908. Dear Tom, it's been a long time since I've had any word from you, though I suppose I can't complain because I'm not very quick at answering your letters when I get them. Though it's not because I don't want to answer, it's because I can never think what to write. Everything here is the same as usual. Nothing's really different since you went away. Oh, except, of course, there's a new underfootman, the fellow who took your place. Ted Sparks his name is, and he's a right cheeky one. Oh, I read Dad that part in your last letter about Mr. Geoffrey hiring somebody to do his books for £7 a month and all found. Dad worked it out that, seeing as how you went to South Africa with Mr. Geoffrey, you'll be earning more than that, which means you'll be able to save quite a lot. Oh, leastways, that's what Dad said. What did you mean when you said that you went out shooting for the pot? Did you go as a beater for Mr. Geoffrey? I mean, you wouldn't be allowed to shoot alongside the gentleman, would you?
There he is, sir. Down there to the left, below the corner of Ritzer's dam. I see him, Barrett. Be ready, sir. He's going to flush those birds any second now. There they go, sir. Damn a blast. Quick, Barrett. Fire, man.
A good shot. Well done, Barrett. Well done.
Another one for the pot, sir.
Yes, and you're showing yourself to be quite a marksman, Barrett.
Oh, thank you, sir. Must say I've been surprising myself, never mind you, sir. Never handled a gun in my life before we come to Africa.
Natural eye, obviously. A damn good instinct for timing. It's not easy to down a bird on the wing, and you've accounted for 7 today to my brace.
Oh, good fortune more than good management.
Don't be so modest, man. You're a damn good shot, and that's all there is to it. Here, Prince. Good boy. That's it. Drop. Good boy, Prince.
Hey,
yeah, it's a nice plump one, this. Look, see where you hit it. Minimal damage to the flesh. Capital shot, Barrett. Are you sure you never handled a gun at home?
Friday, 12th of March, 1909. My dear Geoffrey, it is now over 2 years since you set out for South Africa. At times it seems that you left only yesterday. From your letters, I am conscious of a change in you. You told me that the ash tree slips which you took from the grounds of Blessington Hall and planted on your farm have taken root and are flourishing. Does this apply to you also? I feel that it does. What I saw originally as an adventure for you, a transitory experience, is fast becoming your life. Nowadays, your news is concerned solely with your business affairs, with the farm. You take pride in the erection of your new sheep dip, in your jackal-proof fencing, in all the improvements you are making and intend to make. And most revealing of all, when you tell me that you are importing tamarisk trees, the romantic and exotic aspect of such a venture quite escapes you. Your purpose is practical, and your satisfaction is that they will dispel salinity due to dam leakage. Do not misunderstand me, my son. I'm always eager to hear of your daily doings. I would merely point out to you that you are no longer a stranger in a strange land. You are putting down roots. You are becoming one with your surroundings. Is this what you wish, Geoffrey? But enough of my sermonizing. I was most disturbed to hear of the terrible drought you're undergoing, and what bad luck to send all your stock to the Orange River colony only to find the same conditions there. One takes the abundance of water so much for granted that it's difficult to envisage being in dire need of it, and even more difficult for my mind to encompass the idea of month after month passing without any rainfall whatsoever. How does one conjure up rain?
Never rains, but it pours, as the old saying goes. God, it ain't half coming down, Mr. Geoffrey. You're right. It isn't half, it's a whole lot. Well, we certainly need it. Knew the weather was going to break, I did. I could see there were real rain clouds building up, and not just the empties coming back from Cape Town. This is just what the doctor ordered.
Yes, but I hope the cure isn't worse than the disease, Barrett.
Beg pardon, sir?
This rain, there's too much of it, too fast. If it keeps on for any length of time, we could find ourselves with a serious problem on our hands.
Ah, you mean the crops, sir?
Well, they've already taken a beating. No, I was thinking of Beckett's Dam. The others should hold up, but we can't rely on that one.
I should be able to cope with this lot, sir.
You think so? I don't share your confidence, Barrett. I think we'd better round up some of the labourers and get down there. The dam will never hold. The walls will never stand up to this downpour.
Be wiser to get clear of here, sir. If that wall breaks, it could be nasty for us.
I've certainly no intention of standing back and watching a burst dam wreak its havoc on the land.
But what you going to do, sir?
Shore up the wall. Sandbags, that's what we need. Barrett, I want every able-bodied person filling sandbags. Everyone, you understand? Let the rain do its worst. We're going to save the dam.
Tuesday, 31st of May, 1910. My dearest mother, the above date is an historic one and marks the union of South Africa. A new era is beginning, both in this country and in England, with the end of one reign and the commencement of another. One is conscious of regret that Edward occupied the throne for such a short time. He waited so long for his crown. However, the king is dead, long live the king. And may George V steer a straight course to peace and prosperity for all of us. Certainly I shall have no cause for complaint if life goes on as it does at present. Everything is running smoothly, and my new farm manager, a towering giant of a Dutchman called Willem Potgieter, is a splendid fellow. I recently had a very pleasant respite from the toils of Sevenoaks when I journeyed to the port of East London. The purpose of my visit was, in fact, business, but it developed into something of a social occasion, due to my making several very interesting acquaintances, among whom was a Miss Catherine Spence. Miss Spence is a descendant of the 1820 settlers on both sides of her family, and has a fund of stories to relate concerning the dangers and hardships which faced the settlers on their arrival here. Oh, not from her personal knowledge, naturally. The stories have been handed down. They are quite fascinating, as indeed is Miss Spence.
So, you go back to your farm tomorrow?
Yes, in the morning. I wish I could stay longer.
Then you've enjoyed your visit to East London?
Very much. I've particularly enjoyed meeting certain people.
You mean your hosts? Yes, the Dugmores are such a nice family, so entertaining.
Well, the Dugmores are very hospitable, but I wasn't thinking of them.
Weren't you?
You're not being very helpful, Catherine. In fact, you're being decidedly unhelpful.
Am I?
Well, you know you are. And you know what I'm trying to say.
I thought you were saying goodbye.
If you keep twirling your locket, you'll break the chain. It looks very old. Is it family heirloom?
Yes. It's very precious to me. It's from my mother's side of the family. The only thing left. Everything else was destroyed in the border wars. They lost everything.
Except the locket. Is it connected with the escape of your relative who swam the Kai River?
Oh, no, that's a different story altogether. You're mixing them up. It was my father's eldest brother who swam the Kai, Uncle Walter.
Well, there you are. You see how confused I am. That's because I haven't been told the stories often enough. You'll have to start from the beginning so that I can get the details set in my mind.
But you're leaving tomorrow.
Well, true. But if there were sufficient incentive, I could return. And very soon.
And you'd really find my family history sufficient incentive?
I've always been fond of history.
Then if you come back, I'll arrange a meeting with Great-Uncle Harry. He's the person you must talk to. He knows all the
Catherine.
family. Yes?
I'm not interested in your Great-Uncle Harry. I'm interested in you.
Oh, then why didn't you say so in the first place?
10 o'clock, Monday, 12th of August, 1912. Dear Gladys, Trust yours truly to be a few weeks late in answering your letter. I dare say you're used to that by now. I always mean to reply straight off, but you know how it is. Anyway, there's a lot going on here at the moment. What with one thing and another. They've started work on the new house. Mr. Jeffrey goes every day to see how the builders are getting on. Going to be a real mansion it is. Something like Blessington Hall, only designed to suit the climate here. Mr. Jeffrey seems pleased with how it's going. To tell the truth, it's not the only house that's being built. There's another one going up as well. Oh, not on the same grand scale as Mr. Jeffrey's new mansion, mind you. I mean, this other house I'm talking about won't be having a morning room and a library and all the rest of it. But it's going to be proper nice all the same. And I think you'll be pleased with it. Drawing it out, aren't I? Do you get what I'm trying to tell you, Gladys? This is our house. Oh, excuse the smudge. My pen slipped when I was underlining the word our. Nice word, too. Just think of it, Gladys. Our own house. I don't know about you, but I reckon as how we've waited long enough. And I hope your dad will agree with me. Anyway, I'm going to write him a letter as soon as I finish this one. I'll have writer's cramp with all these letters. Never mind. Of course, your dad may object to the idea of your travelling all this way, thinking how much water there is between here and Merry England. But I don't see what else he can object to. I mean, I'm doing very well out here. Mr. Jeffries told me more than once he wouldn't know how he managed without me. Makes you feel good, that do. I love the life here on Seven Oaks. But I got different plans for the future. The distant future, I mean. I reckon you and me's going to save our money, Gladys, and one day, when we've got enough together, we'll take over a nice little hotel somewhere. What do you think about that for an idea, Gladys? Mind you, as I've said, that's for the distant future. It isn't really important now. The important thing is you coming out here and the two of us getting married as soon as possible, if not sooner.
Come in.
You sent for me, my lady?
Yes, Gladys, I did. Come nearer, child. I can scarcely see you over there by the door.
Yes, my lady.
That's better. So, all set for your adventurous journey to Africa,
Yes, my lady.
My goodness me, what am I going to do if all my servants are drawn towards my son's African estate? Who will be left in Blessington Hall? Oh, don't look so alarmed, child. I'm not upbraiding you for going.
Thank you, my lady.
Although Mrs. Morton tells me that you'll be a loss. She says you're an industrious girl, neat and tidy. I'm pleased to hear it, Gladys. I think young Barrett should consider himself very fortunate. Not many young girls would dash off to marry a man in a country they've never seen. You're quite determined and settled in your mind, Gladys?
Yes, my lady. Truth to tell, I can't wait to get there.
Well, my son and your Barrett seem to have found the place to their liking. When do you leave?
5 days' time, my lady.
You've a long journey ahead of you, Gladys, with the prospect of a new and exciting life at the end of it. I sincerely hope that it fulfills all your expectations.
Thank you, my lady. I know I'm going to be happy.
With such obvious conviction, how could you be otherwise? And happiness is what I wish you, Gladys. You and Barrett.
Thank you, my lady.
I'm sure you know better than I what sort of wedding gift you would like, so, this is for you, Gladys.
£10? Oh, no, my lady. £10? Oh, that's a lot of money. I couldn't take that, my lady.
You can and you will. You'll find a good use for it, I'm sure.
Oh, thank you, my lady. Thank you very much.
Wednesday, 21st of May, 1913. My dearest mother, on behalf of Catherine and myself, thank you for your blessing and for your thoroughly magnificent wedding gift. Our principal regret is that you will not be present at the ceremony next month. But we hope that circumstances will enable you to pay us a lengthy visit very soon. It would be a real joy to welcome you to our new home. I had a letter from Charles recently, and he wrote that he and Helen were in need of a long holiday and that he was seriously considering a voyage to South Africa, if he could find the time to get away from his constituency. So who can tell? Perhaps one day Catherine and I will have the pleasure of entertaining Charles and his family. How easily those words flow, Catherine and I. Believe me, Mother, I'm a very lucky man to have found such a girl.
Friday, 16th of January, 1914. Dear Lady Blessington, how excited we were to receive your letter and know that you will be with us in September. And I claim my excitement to be even greater than Geoffrey's. At long last, I am to meet my mother-in-law. Our knowledge of each other has progressed through our correspondence, but what a poor substitute for a personal meeting. And now that meeting is to be realized. My one complaint is that September is such a long way off. And yet, why should I complain when Geoffrey and I will have 8 months in which to savor the joy of anticipation? I must confess, however, that for me the joy will be tinged with a modicum of trepidation. How awful it would be if you didn't like me. On the other hand, I have 8 months in which to rid myself of all my unlikable traits. Oh, what a delightful year it's going to be. How could it be otherwise when it commences with such good and welcome news?
Wednesday, 15th of July, 1914. My dearest mother, the most important letter I have ever penned. It gives me great pleasure to announce the arrival of your South African grandchildren. Twin boys, born this morning at 1 minute after 4 a.m. and 10 minutes to 5 a.m., respectively. Catherine is well, and both babies appear to be healthy specimens. Barrett and his wife Gladys have proved themselves to be towers of strength through this traditionally nerve-wracking experience. Gladys taking control of all matters appertaining to the nursery, while Barrett has lent me invaluable moral support. If the infants prove in any way prodigious, we shall endeavour to teach them to say, "Welcome, Grandmama," in time for your arrival in September. Or is this expecting too much of them? After all, they have 2 months in which to learn.
Wednesday, 5th of August, 1914. My dearest Geoffrey and Catherine, the dark shadow which has long been hovering over us has now descended. We are at war with Germany. While I have no doubt that our army and navy will win for us the victory, I am fearful of the prize which may be demanded of us. And I refer not only to the lives which will be sacrificed in the conflict, but to the sacrifice of our way of life. I've had many discussions on this subject with Charles and his colleagues, knowledgeable and intelligent men, and all are unanimous that a European war can only prove harmful to Western civilization. Germany and Austria will be defeated. Any other outcome is unthinkable. But neither England nor France will emerge all-powerful from the struggle. Who then will hold Russia in check? And what will be the effect of this altered balance of power? The prognosis of far-sighted men is not optimistic. But why am I boring you with my dreary contemplations? The declaration of war is depression enough without my adding to it. In truth, I have my own private depression, far removed from world events, though inadvertently caused by them. I fear my proposed visit to South Africa must now be postponed. My disappointment is beyond words. For so many months, I've been buoyed up with the thought of seeing you both and holding my darling grandsons in my arms. They are thriving, I trust. Kiss them for me and tell them that their grandmother sends her fondest love.
Saturday, the 20th of March, 1915. My dearest mother, after months of frustration and difficulty, my arrangements are at last completed. I have done everything possible to ensure that in my absence all will go smoothly on the farm. In the beginning, I hoped that Barrett, whom I trust implicitly, would remain here, but he is as determined as I am to answer the call of battle. So we both go to fight for king and country, to fight for the country of our choosing no less than the country of our birth. And it is the uniform of our adopted country which we shall wear. While Catherine is as sad as I am at the thought of our separation, she understands and accepts the necessity with all the fortitude and courage of her pioneering ancestors. Amongst the many things which I shall miss will be the first birthday of Charles and Geoffrey Jr. God grant that by the time they are old enough to realize the significance of birthdays, I shall be back here to share them. They are both healthy and bright, and seem to grow by the day. When I look at them, safe and secure in this benevolent, tranquil country, in my mind's eye I see other children, those in Europe, caught up in the web of war. There is only one way to give them back the peace and security which is their birthright, and that is to bring this conflict to a swift and victorious end.
Thursday, 9th of September, 1915. Dear Tom, I don't think I've ever said it before, but every time I sit down to write to you, I think the same thing. Here's me on the farm writing you a letter just like you used to write to me. And it wasn't so long ago either when you come to count it up. I remember when I was on the boat coming out to South Africa, I thought to myself, well, that's the days of writing letters to each other over and done with. I've never been very good at writing letters, as you know. Never know what to say, do I? So I was quite happy to think I wouldn't have to write, that we'd be together and it wouldn't be necessary. Anyway, I was wrong, and here I am chewing my pen just like I used to. But we never know what's in front of us, do we? Of course, before I came out here and we were married, it'll be 3 years on the 14th of December, by the way, in case you've forgotten, all I had to worry about was whether you'd meet someone else or maybe just go and forget all about me. And now it's different, and I've got something real to worry about, haven't I? And Lord knows I do worry about you, Tom, so do try and take care of yourself. Keep your head well down when there's any bullets flying about, and don't go trying to win any medals or taking on the Kaiser's army single-handed. I got my hands full being nursemaid to the twins and looking after our Susan at the same time. She's a real handful. Takes after her dad. Now she's walking, there's no keeping track of her. I never know what she's going to be up to next. If I take my eyes off her for a minute, she's sure to be in some mischief or other. And it won't be long before the twins have caught up with her. And what I'll do then, I don't know. As it is, I could do with 4 pairs of hands. Oh, talking of hands, that reminds me. I sent you off a parcel last week. Some woolen gloves and socks I knitted. I hope you get them all right.
Saturday, the 1st of January, 1916. My darling Catherine, I write on this first day of the new year. 1916. I wonder what it holds for us. Will it bring that which we all desire so passionately, an end to the fighting? I wish I were optimistic enough to believe so. But it is hard to keep optimism alive when the days merge one into the other in a continuing vista of carnage and desolation. I miss you very, very much. Here in a mud-filled trench with the rain pouring down in a solid wall and the damp seeping into my very marrow, I dream of you, my darling. And we're together, walking over the veldt in the hard, bright sunshine. The present is so grey and dismal that one takes refuge in the past, or in the future. Past and future, those are the 2 main topics of our conversations. The wonderful days we've known, and the wonderful days we'll know again.
Tuesday, 15th February, 1916. Dear Gladys, as you'd have guessed when you saw my scrawl in the envelope, yours truly is alive and kicking and still on my continental holiday, all expenses paid. Ha ha. I'll tell you one thing, though. I wish I had someone to carry the flaming luggage. I used to think a soldier was a fellow who went round swinging a rifle with one hand and saluting officers with the other. Well, I was right about saluting officers. I was wrong about the rest. The things we have to cart around with us. Honest, Gladys, you wouldn't believe it. I feel more like a pack horse than anything else. It's the truth. Mind you, I've got 1 or 2 bits of unauthorized equipment. A few souvenirs I picked up here and there. I thought it might be nice to have a few mementos to bring home to South Africa. I was tickled pink to hear how well our Susan's getting on. If she turns out half as pretty as her mum, she'd be a real corker. Can't wait to see you both. If they'd only hurry up and finish this ruddy war.
Sunday, 21st of May, 1916. Dear Lady Blessington, how good of you to write so frequently when you're so busy. I'm very envious of the work you're doing. Your whole way of living has obviously been disrupted by turning Blessington Hall into a rest home for wounded soldiers. Yet how wonderful to be able to do it. I know that my duty lies here, but I do so wish I could join you and play an active part. The little we are able to do seems so little. I keep having to remind myself that one must do the work which is closest to hand, and that even the most mundane tasks have their importance in the general scheme of things. Yet it does not assuage the guilt I feel. Here I am in the midst of beauty and peace, while so many are in the throes of deprivation and distress. I stand on the stoop of our house, and everything I can see, from Porter's Dam on the eastern horizon, to the row of tamarisks fringing the paddock, to the cluster of labourers' cottages white-walled and sun-bleached, to the merinos dotted untidily on the landscape away to the west below Beckett's Dam, everything, every single thing that I can see, every inch of the farm, reminds me of Geoffrey. How long before he comes back to me? How much longer will this war continue with its mindless death and destruction?
Thursday, the 13th of July, 1916. My dearest mother, I snatch a few minutes to write to you. Since the beginning of July, Allied troops have mounted a strong offensive in the Somme sector. By the time you receive this letter, the second phase of the action will have commenced, and our own South African brigade under General Lukin will participate. Morale is high, but there is an air of tension and expectancy as we await our final orders. There is no doubt that the fighting will be fierce, but up to the present, good fortune has marched by my side, and I trust will continue to do so. In recent weeks, it has occurred to me that I was born under a lucky star. Everything in life I could possibly desire, I have. When I think of Catherine and my sons and the farm waiting for me, the realization of what is mine fills me with wonderment. England will ever be dear to me, but at this moment, I long for home, where my heart is.
Thursday, 20th July, 1916. Etretat Hospital. Dear Lady Blessington, I don't quite know how to begin this letter, but I know I have to write it, because I was with Mr. Geoffrey at the end, and it's only right that you should hear firsthand what happened. I've already finished a note to young Mrs. Geoffrey. I can tell you, my lady, these are the two hardest letters I've ever had to write, so please excuse all the mistakes, but I can hardly see for the tears in my eyes, and that's the truth. We were at a place called Delville Wood. There was a lot of fighting, but I can't tell you any details about that, because when you're in the midst of it, there's so much noise and everything's so confused that you've got no idea what other people are doing, only what you're doing yourself, and not always even that. Anyway, there was a lot of shelling, and Fritz started a heavy counterattack. Seemed like men were falling like ninepins. And there was this young fellow, Carson, from Johannesburg he was. I'd spoken to him a few times. Well, he was wounded, badly wounded, and he was cut off from us, because the Germans had moved in and there were bullets flying all over the place. And Carson was trying to crawl back, but he couldn't manage it. I saw it all because I just copped a couple of stray ones myself. All I could do was lie there. Anyway, next thing I saw was Mr. Geoffrey, down flat on the ground and moving out to Carson. And I lay there, praying like I've never prayed before. Mr. Geoffrey got to Carson. Then he started dragging him back. And they nearly made it, Lady Blessington. That's the worst part of it. They nearly made it. They were only a couple of yards away when the bullets got them. Carson was killed outright. They brought Mr. Geoffrey and laid him down quite close to me. We had to wait there till they could get us to the dressing station. At first, Mr. Geoffrey seemed to be unconscious. Then, after a while, his eyelashes sort of flickered, and he looked at me. And he didn't seem surprised to see me. He just looked at me, quite ordinary-like. And he said, Barrett, tell my mother, Catherine. And those were the last words he spoke.
Saturday, 5th of August, 1918. My dearest Catherine, My heart reaches out to you across the miles that separate us, and I cannot say, do not grieve, when grief is my constant companion. But I can say, and do say, look to the future, for the future belongs to your sons, to Geoffrey's sons. In his very last letter to me, written only days before the fatal engagement, Geoffrey wrote, "When I think of Catherine and my sons and the farm waiting for me, the realization of what is mine fills me with wonderment." He also wrote, "England will ever be dear to me, but at this moment I long for home where my heart is." My dear Catherine, those words of Geoffrey's are now poignant and tragic, but they bear in them all the shining promise of your country's future. He grew to love South Africa more than the land of his birth. It is your land, the land of your settler ancestors and the land of your sons. Theirs is a proud inheritance and dearly bought. As they grow to manhood, let them not forget the price which has been paid. Teach them to love their country as you do, as did their father, as did the long, unbroken line of courageous men and women in the past.
That was The Blessington Letters, a play for Settlers' Day by Annette Mackenzie and Jack Mulland. As Geoffrey Blessington, you heard Keith Grenville, and as Barrett, Glyn Day. Rosalie van der Good was heard as Lady Blessington, and Petronilla Whitfield as Gladys. Catherine Spence was played by Judy Gibson. The Blessington Letters was produced by John Spring.
Radio Theatre.